So dudes, welcome to my attacker tier list for Solar Raid and Rainbow Six Siege. So this video, you can think of it like a companion piece to how to play every operator on attack, which is going to release on the 17th of February, which is coming up pretty soon. I've broken down these tiers based off of how frequently the operators are picked and how applicable their gadget is to various scenarios in Rainbow Six Siege. So the purpose of the video isn't to say that your favorite operator is bad, it's more to say that your favorite operator is bad for this particular situation, but is really good in this situation, as opposed to another operator. Before I get into the ratings, I just want to say this video is sponsored by Keeps. Now, I've been working with Keeps for a long time. Keeps is a service that helps men deal with male pattern baldness by helping you get treatment from the comfort of your computer desk. Everything that you need, of course, after talking to a professional, is delivered right to your door at an affordable price. It's nothing to be ashamed of. 2 out of 3 guys will experience some form of male pattern baldness by the time they reach age 35, but it's better to act on it now rather than later. With Keeps, you get in touch with somebody who can come up with a treatment plan specifically for you. You have a one-on-one direct interaction with somebody who can help you come up with the treatment plan. It's all information recommended by licensed medical providers, and if you're not dealing with baldness per se, Keeps also has a line of shampoo and conditioners. So for any guy with hair, Keeps has you covered. Hair loss stops with Keeps. To get 50% off of your first order, go to keeps.com/Gregor or click the link in the description. That's keeps.com/Gregor. And thanks again to Keeps for sponsoring this video. Just to be clear, I have a set of cliff notes that I'm reading off of to keep me from rambling. So let's start off strong. Let's take a look at Ace. Okay, let's take a look at Ace. Okay, Ace, S tier, exceptional, good in 9 out of 10, if not all scenarios. Ace is the primary hard breacher right now. He counters bandit tricks. He has the hard breach amount necessary for a successful site executes. He can do it from a distance without getting blown up from C4. He has an AK-12, which is a very good weapon. Primary hard breach for a reason right now, basically, right? He doesn't really have a lot of downside, and the upside that he does have outweighs any kind of downsides that he has, right? So he can throw a bunch of charges at a wall at the same time to counter bandit trickers. That's something Habana can't do because her gadget is too slow, and Thermite is going to get blown up by C4 through wooden floors. So he can open up a wall from a distance safely and efficiently, which is really, really powerful. Primary weakness, not being able to handle hatches as efficiently, but he has so many other things going for him that kind of cancels it out a little bit. So we're going to go down each tier like S, A, B, C, D, F, and then repeat. I also spoiled one of the tiers. You can see at the bottom there's Grim. I spoiled it without even realizing it. Grim sucks, and we'll explain why Grim sucks when we get to that. So Ash. Ash is a robust entry fragger. She has good gadget destruction with her pro pipe, and her guns are also solid. Free speed rating gives her more maneuvering options in gunfights with lower noise output, which is nice. The thing with Ash is that there's nothing like particularly weak, right? And this is a theme that we're going to see with a lot of the A tier operators. They're not like crazy, like they're not must bring picks for a majority of situations, but they're just so good that there's a lot of scenarios where you're not really going to lose anything by bringing them, right? They don't really impact your composition construction, if that makes sense. She's a very solid entry fragger. She has everything that she needs to be a solid entry fragger, and she does the job well enough. So that's a solid A tier for Ash. Next up, Capitao. So now we're getting into operators that are good in a lot of situations, but you should maybe bring somebody else depending on what's going on. Capitao is a useful flex pick, even if his guns leave something to be a little bit desired. The Para has a really low rate of fire, but now it has that extended barrel buff, so you can frag 3 speeds a lot more quickly. Very useful for site executes, Capitao's gadget. He has dual purpose, area denial, and vision denial with the fire and the smoke. So the fire is also good for flushing out opponents in terms of hard to reach positions. Let's say you want to deal with clubhouse rafters, yellow stairs, consulate, places where you can't really take a direct gunfight safely. Capitao is perfect for that. You can get control right away, and he has, decent actual like site execute utility once you get to the point where you're going to try to plant the case. So Capitao, good in a lot of situations. I wouldn't say bring him all the time, but he is a solid character. Keep it rolling, Amaru. So now this is situational. So there's some points where this is like a good idea, and then a lot of points where it's like, I don't really know. Amaru is a situational pick. She is very good for timings. That is what Amaru excels at. Hitting timings, hitting flanks that other characters can't hit, while your team is over here, right? Amaru is over here, and then you can go for a pinch. Most prominent example I can think of, this has been around pretty much ever since Amaru came out, is Heaven Balk on Cafe, right? Your team gets cigar control, they get new Balk control, and then when everything is going according to plan, Amaru zips up that window, comes around, flanks and cocktail. So she can zip up really quickly without making a long, drawn-out repel queue and swing that leaves her really vulnerable. So she gets in, hits a flank, has good gunfighting, plus she has can openers or a Gon 6 if you really need them. All right, next up for our first D-tier character. This one might get me in trouble. Finka. Guys, Finka got hit by the Nerf bat really freaking hard. Okay? She's not bad on her own merits, and as I said, can bring value under certain conditions. But the thing is, she doesn't do anything that other characters don't already do. Other entry fraggers do the job a lot better, and she can help with fast executes where healing chip damage globally can be pretty useful, right? Think like a Blitz Rush. If you want to go full like 2019 meta, right? Like Lion, Dokkaebi, Jackal. But another thing that really gets in her way is that she's countered by Smoke, and Smoke is really freaking good right now. Smoke has been and is still an S tier character who's brought on like 80 million% of sites at a competitive level, and those smoke grenades are not insignificant, right? They cover a large radius, they do a lot of damage. So if you think a boost, then you're going to do more damage, not just to yourself, but your entire team. And her weapons kind of leave something to be desired too. So compared to other entry fraggers like Ashe, there's a lot of situations where I'd rather have an Ashe than a Finka on my team. So she kind of suffers in that regard. And we finally get to F tier, which I already spoiled, Grim. Grim is awful. Grim sucks, okay? He does not do anything other characters don't already do. It leaves him very vulnerable. The animation is super long. The Q is really big and obvious, right? There's plenty of time to react to it. And what it actually does is not really useful, right? So you're basically just like, the whole point of Grim's gadget, as far as I could tell, was to crowd control and force people off of positions, without getting like pre-fired. And the thing is, all Grim can really do, right, is he can peek, shoot bees over somebody. Most of the time, you already know that somebody is there, so you might as well just throw like a frag grenade. You might as well hit him with a Capital Bolt. If you already know the position, then the bees don't do anything, right? The bees are just going to go beep, beep, and the guy's just going to sit in that position, right? Because there's no point in him not doing it. You already know he's there, right? You gain nothing by that. So, like, there are some situations where I've gotten below the floor with the shotgun and kind of like gotten a little tricky with the bees, but the radius is so small that it's unreliable to leverage that. I've talked about reworking Grim a lot. I think it'd be really cool if the bees could like chase people. I think if the bees chased people and they did like a little bit of damage over time, like Legion Mine, I think that would completely fundamentally change the viability of Grim. But right now he just stinks, man. Buff Grim, hashtag Buff Grim. Okay, the next S tier character right now, Nuk. Nuk can sneak by camera without destroying it and make a very powerful solo push that the defenders don't really have a lot of options for unless you bring an Echo. So the whole thing about Nuk is that what makes Nuk so good is that the other team does not know that there is a Nuk, right? If the Nuk is playing it correctly. There's not really a lot of counterplay, right? If Nuk activates the gadget correctly, if she waits, pops the ability, and then goes by the camera without shooting the camera, that's a blind spot in the enemy's defense. So the defense, like, they can't like anticipate that, right? There's not a single kind of like cue that they get that's like, oh, hey, there's a Nuk on the board, unless there's like sound, right? If she gets really reckless. But she can just crouch walk, right? So she has decent weapons. She can pick a wide assortment of secondary gadgets depending on the situation. Right now, in this very like gunfighting kind of centric meta, Nuk already has, decent kind of like utility options, and she has that ability to make that really, really powerful solo push without anybody knowing. So Nuk is very, very good right now, and there's a reason that she's getting banned a lot. Okay, this one will make you guys happy. Buck. All right, so remember when Buck was like down here a little bit, right? Because he was competing with Sledge. Well, Buck, ever since he got the Gon 6, ever since he got can openers, he's gotten a lot better. Okay, he's a very versatile jack of all trades operator. He can entry. He can use verticality to push people out of tough to deal with positions or to help open the wall. He has can openers for hatchets. Like I said, he has a Gon 6. Good weapon, soft destruction from a distance at any time that you want it is very powerful, and he has a lot of it. He can slice open a defender's setup all by himself. No particularly strong downside there, right? He has potent enough utility, but he has enough fragging power to balance it out. He can do a little bit of everything right now. He's just very good. He's a very good operator on his own merits, even if he's not like a dedicated hard breacher or something. All right, our next B tier character, Flores. So Flores is not good enough to be a Thatcher alternative, right, on his own. But he is good enough at what he does to warrant a B tier pick, in my opinion, just because he has 4, freaking like C4 sized remote controlled bombs. Okay. And they can, that's a lot, right? That's a lot of defender utility. Okay. If the defenders are doing like a turtle setup, Flores is perfect to counter it, unless they have a mute, right? Then it gets a little more tricky than that. But in the right place at the right time, he can systematically tear apart a defender setup with the bomb bots. And he can gunfight a little bit too. He has flashes. He has solid weapons. He's a very versatile support operator, just probably not great 100% of the time. All right, another situational pick, Blackbeard. Blackbeard is useful for that occasional angle hold that you need to hold at all costs. He's most powerful when you set him up on windows where he can tank a headshot for free. And then he can upside down repel, right? He can protect his planner while an enemy swings. So he's not always the play, right? Because he doesn't really do a whole lot in terms of the gadget economy. But he's useful for that specific job, and he's good at it. His weapons kind of stink, though, so it's hard to justify him going much higher than this. All right, and this one is going to break some hearts again. IQ. IQ counters Solus. She counters Pulse. She counters Valkyrie. And that's kind of it. Having the scanner out with her pistol up leaves her very vulnerable. She's prone to losing a heads-up gunfight because of that. No EMPs, no destruction. She just has a gun, and she can see through soft surfaces, which, if you already can do that, why don't you just get like an Ash or a Buck? So, the conditions for her gadget to be powerful are very limited. And that's why, she's very, very situational. Very niche. All right, next up, this shouldn't really surprise anybody. Thatcher. Thatcher is still the king of gadget destruction, and that's why he's at S tier. He can effectively clear any kind of defender utility on the wall being used to deny, right? Without having to drone it super thoroughly, which is big. That's something that you kind of lack with a secondary EMP because the radius is so tiny. Thermite and Thatcher combined make Kaid tricking the wall impossible, and he has good weapons. So the EMP can be thrown on top of defenders as well when the side execute starts to kind of throw an additional wrench into things, right? It disables Kona stations, ADSs, cameras, Warden's glasses, right? So that's nice to have too, right? He just kind of throws like a gadget nuke, and he doesn't have to really think about it much. Very, very good operator. Kind of a Jaeger situation here where it's like, unless you fundamentally change how Rainbow Six Siege works, you're not really going to mitigate the effect of that gadget. Okay, we got another entry fragger, Sledge. Okay, Sledge is a very versatile operator. He has a ton of vertical capability. Not the same as Buck. Buck can go up through the floor, but Sledge makes up for it with the ability to counter Castle, okay, which is not insignificant. His L85 is very good. He has frag grenades on top of it, making his kit extremely well-rounded without a ton of downside. Frags are useful for dual parts, right, pushing people off of positions, as well as getting rid of utility. Nothing particularly weak about Sledge, okay? His primary weapon is one of the best in the game. It's really easy to control. He can fight at any range with it, and the rest of his kit is also very good. So Sledge is A tier. Okay, next up, we have an operator for site executes. Very, very good at site executes. Gridlock. Gridlock is very good in the post plant, but she kind of has to wait to get to the post plant. Her gadget can be thrown from a distance and wastes a significant amount of time. Sometimes it also wastes impacts, right, from the defenders. Very, very difficult for the enemies to contest a plant if she gets all of her track stingers down. She has smoke grenades, Gone 6. She can bring impact EMPs in place of the smoke grenades if she wants to. So you can kind of tailor her to the specific site execute, to the specific plan that your team needs. She kind of needs to wait until the end of the round, like I said, to get the most out of the gadget. But if those conditions are met, she contributes a lot to her team. Not to mention her guns are also pretty solid. The F90 is not too bad. This one is a heartbreaker. Fuse, C tier. Not bad. Okay, guys, look. C is a situational pick. It doesn't mean it's bad. It's really hard to find a bad character in Rainbow Six Siege. Grim fits the bill. But Fuse does do something that other characters can't do, right? He's still very good at getting around a defender setup by kind of like slicing in with the cluster charges to do all sorts of damage and also to destroy utility. He can force people to move or get blown up. And if they have a ton of gadgetry there, right, not even a Jaeger ADS can really effectively counter it, right? Because the cluster charge sends out a whole bunch of pucks, and he has 4 of them, right? Instead of 4. The AK-12 is also pretty good. He has can openers, but he's not directly useful for the same sort of thing that everybody else here is useful for, right? He does not have like particularly strong verticality, and he doesn't have a ton of, direct util denial, right? So if Buck here has a Gon 6 or Sledge has frag grenades, when you're taking like the pixel spot on Cafe, Fuse can't just like throw his cluster charge at the thing and blow it up, right? He has to do it through a surface. So that is kind of limiting. He's not directly useful, like I said, for the same thing as other characters are, but he does bring something interesting to the table that other characters don't by being able to go through walls. So he is good in select environments, and he's kind of a situational pick, but he's a good situational pick. Now, if we're talking even more situational than Fuse, then, well, Callie fits the bill. Unfortunately, many of the maps in Rainbow Six Siege do not offer Callie opportunities to leverage her sniper rifle. That being said, she has the opportunity to do so when she can essentially lock down a lawn angle completely for sites like the big garage on Chalet. There's an angle you can get on the cocktail balcony guy from one of the piano windows. It shuts down across in the same way that an op is useful in CS:GO, but you have to be in the map environment for that to work, which doesn't happen a lot. Her gadget leaves a lot to be desired compared to Impact EMPs and Maverick, especially, right? And she can't synchronize the timings as well with Ace or Hibana because her charge will blow up anything on the wall, right? Including friendly stuff. So other operators do her job better, and it's a tough sell a lot of the time, but she is useful in select scenarios where the sniper rifle can be used effectively. And the thing about the Lance is that it can also be used to destroy any kind of utility from a distance, right? So deployable shields, bulletproof cameras, stuff like that. Thatcher can't throw an EMP at a deployable shield and get rid of it, right? I wish Callie had something besides the sniper rifle because she'd probably get picked a lot more, but as it stands right now, it's kind of tough. All right, up next is a true American hero, GI Thermite, okay? Thermite is the preferred pick for walls on the exterior of the building where C4 is not an issue, okay? He blows up the most amount of crap in the shortest amount of time. He also has smoke grenades for the sight hit, and his weapon is a cannon with easy-to-control recoil at all ranges, plus a lot of scope options. So he's just very well-rounded as a hard breacher, right? He can't do it as safely as Ace, so that's why he's not quite picked as much as often. But he's good at what he does. He does it so well, and it's a very important job. So that's going to get you on a team in Siege. That's going to get you in the composition. A tier. Well, Greg, there's other hard breachers that you're not talking about. Yes, because we haven't gotten there yet. And it's going to be a tier lower. I'm sorry. Hibana. I'm sorry, guys. Okay, look. Hibana's not bad. But she's definitely not the preferred hard breacher right now. Most of the time, because Thermite does it faster, he destroys more stuff. Hibana is slow and destroys, a lot less stuff. So her peers kind of make up for a lot of downsides. And, it's just tough to justify being the main hard breacher now. But she makes up for it with the ability to destroy 4 hatches in a given round completely by herself. So she's very good supplementary in terms of hard breach capabilities. And she can cover some bases that the operators alongside her cannot do. So for the main wall, right? If it's from a distance, Ace is usually going to do that. Counter the bandit trick. Exterior wall, Thermite's going to do that. But little pocket positions, right? Or if you want to rotate away, let's say Thermite's getting one side, Hibana can get the other side, right? Hibana can set up the pinch. Supplementary gadget. Good, but not Thermite. Not Ace. She gets hatches, bank, basement attack. Super good. You need to keep her on the board, right? You need to stay alive. But that's, one example, right? Where the hatches are very useful. A lot of sites where it is useful. But that's just kind of the dynamic. All right, what's up next? Glaz. Glaz does not suffer from the same issues as Callie. That's why he's a tier higher than Callie. And he has the smoke combo with the thermal vision. That's a very unique X factor that only he has. That's really good for sight executes. For sights with long open sight lines, you can make the argument that Glaz is just as good, if not better, especially when you consider that he has a Gon 6. So he's not a half bad gunfighter either when it's absolutely necessary. Good situational pick. And now, finally, we're going to get to Sens. Sens is in a really weird spot, right? Because their gadget isn't bad per se, but it requires a lot of things to go right in order to be used effectively. Sometimes there is an opportunity brought by the map geometry where the rolling effects can kind of help create a potent sight execute, but it's easy to screw it up. It requires a lot of coordination from your team, and it's often unrealistic to expect that amount of coordination. At least Sens has a Gon 6 and can openers, so, you know, if you're really feeling it, go for it, but I think there's a lot of prior prep that you got to do to get it right. All right, this one's another entry fragger, Yana. She would be S tier if she still had her Gon 6, but she's still a very potent entry fragger. Good weapons, frag grenades. That's pretty much all you need to be a good entry fragger. She also has forever droning, and she can thoroughly clear parts of the map while remaining safe and not putting herself or her team at risk, right, which is huge. She makes clearing roamers a million times easier, a lot more efficient, and she's self-sufficient, so she's a pretty easy A-tier entry frag. She's picked a lot in competitive right now. I think in the European qualifiers for Invite, it was like an 80% pick rate or something right now, so she's like the premier entry fragger right now, if Sledge isn't, right? She kind of shares that role with Sledge. And then at B tier, Jackal. Okay, you'd think this would be higher, but Jackal is not really played as much in competitive. Like, he's kind of a ranked comfort ban. Attackers have a lot of options to clear roamers, right? Especially with Dekebi being so strong right now. Still not bad. He has the C7E, which is very, very good. The secondary shotgun can open soft hatches or make holes through the floor to make, very simple vertical plays. So sometimes he's, good, but a lot of the time you can just bring a Yana, right? So whatever. And it's C tier for a situational pick, not a bad character, but not useful all the time. Maverick got hit really hard by the lack of frag grenades and the arrival of secondary EMPs. He's good for denying bandit trickers and the ability to make little holes in the wall, right, to hold sight lines. That should not be understated. There are situations where, hey, you need a Maverick to, open a hole to go into dirt. You can have Maverick make, if you don't get the wall open outright, right, you can make holes in the chalet wall to kind of hold crosses. He has a very good primary weapon. With the extended barrel, he can two-shot 3 speeds. He's a good X-Factor pick, right? He can pick up the slack other hard breachers can't cover when it's needed. So, very situational, but not bad. This is, this one's going to get me in trouble, okay? I got to do it. I'm sorry, okay? Great ranked operator, Sam Fisher, 0. Not useful in competitive, guys. The ability to coordinate information gathering and communicate it at that level is completely different than what you do in ranked, okay? When you need flank watch, you get a Nomad. If you really need flank watch. And if you need cameras, then you just drone, right? You don't waste your drones. He just doesn't really bring anything, super substantial to the table, right? He has can openers. He has a Gon 6. Okay, so does, a whole bunch of other characters, right? Who cares? Okay, Buck has that. Cameras can zap utility, right? His cameras can zap utility, but they make a ton of noise, and they're difficult to get a lot out of. So they're more useful for helping with flanks, and then you can just... The cameras can zap utility, but they make a crap ton of noise, and they're difficult to get a lot out of. So, that functionality of the gadget is not that great. It's really tough to justify him, right? He's good for some maps, like Bank, that are really large and really open to set up flanks, and ranked. Great ranked operator. Don't get me wrong. I love playing Sam. But, when we're looking at it from a purely objective point of view, he's just not as efficient, right, as just a drone. So, it's tough. All right, next for entry fraggers, Zofia. Zofia doesn't really get picked as much in competitive as much as Yana or Ashe. So this is kind of a weird pick. I would put an asterisk on this one for A tier. I personally don't feel like she's bad in that environment, but maybe, the 3 armor rating is really screwing her over in a way that I'm not seeing. But she's pretty comparable to other entry fraggers, right? Like, she can destroy setup with the impact grenades. She has the stuns, which are really nice. Ash gets more play because of the 3-speed rating, but functionally speaking, you know, it's not like a crazy different kind of job. Just, you know, not a bad operator by any means, but maybe the 3 armor rating is kind of impacting it with the noise output. But then again, Sledge is up there, so you know, I think she's good. But you know, if you guys know something and I don't, then let me know. All right, Lion, useful for roam clears and site executes. Okay, he can prevent defenders from doing what they want to do when they feel pressure, which is move. His V308 is very good. 3-shot kill at a lot of ranges. No recoil. Big ass 50-round mag. He has a Gon 6. He can bring secondary EMPs. Very versatile operator, but not a must bring, right? Sometimes you got to bring something else. But in the environments where he thrives, he's nice to have on your team. Montagna. Montesquieu. Okay? If you need map control at all costs, Monty is your guy. He can shield up and pressure defenders or just outright kill them if not paying attention. Useful in plant scenarios as well. Okay? He's big shield guy. Very good support operator. Very good intel gatherer. If you want to get clubhouse rafters at all costs, then just bring a Monty, go up that staircase, call out for your team. They're going to have to deal with you one way or another, right? He does his job very well, even if it is, you know, kind of a niche job. Okay, Nomad. Nomad does not have destruction, but she makes up for it with shutting down flanks completely. I should say breach, right? Soft breach in terms of destruction. That is, whatever. The terminology is weird. You know what I mean. When I say shut down, I mean the only way to deal with a Nomad, when placed correctly, is to impact nade it, which makes a sound cue. And if the roamer has no impacts, they're fucked, right? There's no way to get around that. Potent operator, she can watch her team's back and hold the line when the site execute starts too. Map control is very important in this game, and Nomad can literally just go like this. Boom, I have map control. Can't flank. Bada bing, bada boom. Okay, really freaking good. But she's good at that job and not a whole lot else. So, okay, now we got Osa. Osa is very useful for executes with long lines of sight, of which she can deny via a powerful gunfighting advantage with her see-through shield. It can also be placed on windows to provide another fighting advantage. She has secondary EMPs, which bring a lot of flexibility for wall destruction, right? That synergizes with her playstyle, too, to kind of sit in the back and sort of play from a distance while the site execute is going on. She can also use the shield to scout and plant the case, right? It functions like a conventional shield in the way that a Monty could scout out. So really versatile gadget, but the fact that she doesn't really have a lot in terms of like blowing stuff up is, you know, kind of limiting. All right, B tier, Twitch. Twitch has 4 drones and very good weapons. Okay, the 417 is the best DMR in the game. The Zap drone can deny cameras from anywhere and creates a sort of like blind spot, right, for the defenders just by virtue of her existence. Nothing wrong with more drones, right? She brings a lot of intel gathering. She can deal with stuff that defenders really need to rely on, like mirror windows. She's a hard counter to mirror. You know, not like a super must-bring entry fragger anymore, but still pretty freaking good at what she does. And the situations where she's called for, she can answer the call very effectively. And now we got Blitz, okay? Kind of situational again, a lot like Monty. If you absolutely need map control right in kind of like a tight, confined space, Blitz can help you do that. He's a bit of a one-trick pony, and he kind of struggles to keep that momentum going after the initial push if the defenders kind of read it and sort of like adjust. But he's good in claustrophobic environments where he can get the most out of his flash and shield combo. All right, the last 2 we're going to be B tier. Spoiler alert. Looks like a normal distribution curve. Ying. Ying gets banned quite a bit. Her ability to spam flashes, more importantly, play off of those flashes because she doesn't flash herself. She is like super good for site executes. Okay, like she just pulls up to the room that she wants to clear, and then she just goes like fucking bing bing bing, and then just runs in. When she's left to her own devices, she's really freaking strong, right? If she doesn't get shut down outright. Plus, her primary weapon is really solid. So, you know, in this gunfighting meta, she's pretty strong, and she gets shut down a lot either by the ban phase or, you know, by reads by the defenders. Okay, Warden, great counter. So that's actually kind of a reason that, you know, Warden's in play right now. And now we get to Dekebi, okay? Dekebi is so freaking good, okay? She's like my favorite attacker right now. Dekebi is a versatile support character with a long-range weapon, the ability to help with roam clearing, and a Gon 6. If she gets a pick, she can also use all of the defender's camera options. So the fact that she can deny camera usage completely with the logic bomb is also really cool. Okay, and it makes her function sort of like a makeshift global nuke, right? The time that it takes up is not insignificant. She's not particularly strong in the gunfighting aspect like other entry fraggers, but she's just like a skeleton key operator, right? Like she has so many different options to approach the defender's setup in ways that nobody else can do, and she just brings so many interesting, intricate ways of interacting with the Siege sandbox to the table. So, you know, just because she's not like a super duper good fragger, she's not going to be up here. But she's pretty good, you know, and I think that there are a lot of situations where she's a nice option to bring along. So, yeah. Defender tier list Friday. Subscribe for that. Thank you for watching. Deuces.